It's just never really been my MO. It doesn't. I don't think it's a bad deal. I think it's a great show of. It's just a great expression of emotion. It's just not my expression of emotion.
Yeah, Josh just talked a little bit about playing with your backs up against the wall, kind of like that every week is a playoff of this. Do you sense that also in the room?
Yeah, I think that's been the mantra. I mean, I'd say the last 2 weeks, we understand where we're at, but we also don't dwell on that. We just try to compound these moments like I've talked about ad nauseum, right? And when you compound those moments come Sunday or Saturday in this case, you've got a good reserve and you just go out and just do your best you can with all your focus and all your energy, and then let the chips fall where they may. All right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think Spencer Brown's always taken pride in being accountable and being relied upon. And, I think these past 2 years have not been the easiest for him with his health, and that certainly affected his play. Not having that, training camp, and now he's really taken onus of his craft and being a professional and understanding what that means to him. Because everyone kind of tries to find out how to be a professional, and you try to emulate other guys' techniques and stuff, and sometimes that's just not right for you. And I'm not saying that he was doing anything wrong. I think he just found what worked for him, and he's sticking to his routine, and he's being accountable, and he's taking the coaching, and it's just been such a privilege to see him kind of lock down that right tackle position where I know he's been getting a lot of flack in the past.
Are you expecting a team that's fired up in the Chargers given what's gone on in their organization?
Yeah, absolutely. They're professionals, and they take pride in their work, and they take pride in showing up on their respective game days and playing. And they got a good team. They do. And anyone else who's trying to talk you out of it is just living in fantasy land. These guys have a great team, and they have amazing talent on their team. And so for us, it'll just be matching that and kind of coming in like we have the last few weeks and just in our preparation and try to come out Saturday and just be as competitive as we can.
What has impressed you about Dion's play this season?
Well, I think he's just taken that next step in his professional career, which is kind of scary to see, right? And he's just always been physically imposing and just brutally good football player, but he's taken onus on the little things, the minute details, the ins and outs of every play, of his technique, and how to take care of himself. And he's another guy who prides himself on being accountable and being there for his guys. I think Dion's, of all the players I've played with in my past, he's up there in regards to what it means to him to have the guys around him's back. Like he fights for the guys around him, and he's taken a point of pride in that, and that's shown on Sundays and respective game days.
Why is it neat to see him take this next step in his career, this late in his career?
Oh, I mean, it's not to say that it was just the next step. It was the next leap. I think, he was already a very good football player, and he'd already made the steps that he needed to take to kind of progress to that point, and now he's taking the next one. And it's just exciting to see. It's a good question, and it's also kind of independent to the person.
What's it like for you? Josh says at halftime, the conversation was, hey, we're going to keep pounding the ball. We're going to ride the offensive line. What's it like for you as a position that doesn't get a ton of attention to say, we're going to ride these guys to the finish line?
I think he asked the guys on the offensive line, no one really cares about getting attention, not. We care about winning the game. And at that moment, the run game was being effective, and so we were just sticking to it. And then, like Josh kind of alluded to, I think kudos goes to Joe, because it wasn't the sexiest game for receivers or coordinators, but in the end, it was about getting the win. And I think more than anything, it gave us time of possession to give our defense an opportunity to rest, as well as put them in a position where they had to throw the ball and let our guys hunt. And it also gave us an opportunity to not have to pass pro that much against a extremely talented pass rushing unit. So it was just it was something that we weren't totally planning on running it that many times, but it was just kind of go with the flow. And I think the coaches did a great job of making those in-game adjustments. And once we understood what the task was at hand, the guys just kind of stuck to it.
In whatever walk of life, we all get the grooves and really good grooves. And when it comes to having your back against the wall in this situation, is it easier to be in that groove and maintain that focus of being in the groove? Or what are the challenges of staying in that groove while knowing that the next loss could cost you?
Yeah, I mean, in the past when you go to the playoffs in general, right? If you try to change up what you're doing, and this is speaking from the past, right? A guy who hasn't been to the playoffs or anything, and then they ask you, how do you prepare? What's different about the playoffs? I say, well, I mean, it's the stakes are at their highest, but you know what's worked, and you know what works, so stick to it. Double down on it. Don't have to change anything. So we know what worked. We know the formula that works for in regards to preparation that gives us the best opportunity to come out on Sundays. So we're going to do that, and we're going to lay it out there and let the chips fall where they may. We're preparing to win, and if it happens, it's because we prepared, and if it doesn't, then we're going to give it our all out there and hope for the best, you know.
You played next to a lot of different guards since you got here. Coming into the year, you had 0 reps with either of these guys. How has them steadily being next to you throughout the entire season, I mean literally snap after snap, how has that kind of helped build your trust in them and vice versa?
Well, I think we've been extremely fortunate in regards to our continuity. It's something that you rarely see, and to have that just in general by this time in the year, you've accumulated so many reps, and you understand how everyone's going to work these blocks and how each individual is going to attack certain things. You've gained this nonverbal communication, or you minimize the verbal communication. Part of it is you just you do what you're told. You go out and play with whoever you've got, and maybe it's guys changing around and stuff. But this year we've been very fortunate to have 2 very good guards who are. We've been just very fortunate, and we're looking forward to hopefully keeping that continuity. You can't speculate because that's something that you really can't control. But been very fortunate, and I know the tackles say the same with these guards.
The guys have talked about the energy that Joe Brady brings. I'm curious, 4 games in now with him as offensive coordinator, has anything stood out to you about what's working with him? Any changes that you've noticed, or just what maybe you've learned about him in these 4 games?
Well, yeah, I think I've learned more than I can. Joe is very prideful in regards to how he wants to be a player's coach, and not so much to be your buddy, but he wants to know your thoughts about plays. He wants to know why you're comfortable, why aren't you comfortable with certain plays, and maybe we can make these tweaks, or maybe it's good to know that you don't like this play because of this. We'll make sure to do something else. And I think also his ability to lean on the offensive staff. I think we've got 4 offensive coordinators or past offensive coordinators in our offensive staff, and it's a pretty remarkable deal and a treasure trove of information. So he's leaning on those guys, and it's just been a privilege to be a part of. And right now we're just kind of on that train rolling and hoping to keep it going.